Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us. I almost said podnutz something. Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 39. The show where we talk Linux for you guys and all aspects of Linux. You could be a noob, intermediate, advanced listener or watcher, and I think you still get a lot out of this show. We try to cover it, just make it interesting, and if you're thinking about getting into Linux, interested in Linux, then this is a great show for you to listen to and watch. As Door constantly reminds me, we like to have fun, right? Is this show about fun too?
It's everything is about fun, but I have an unusual sense of fun. To me, fun is to learn something and to share something.
Oh, totally. I'm with you on that. That was the Door-to-Door Geek, Steve McLaughlin, the man who brings the goods to the show, as I always like to say, because it's true. The Door. What's going on, Steve?
Just another very eventful week in parenting and in generalized health.
Any elaboration? I mean, you got me curious about the parenting thing. We don't have to get too deep. But...
No, it's just my son got a jacket, sweatpants, almost combination from my mother, who's now dead, like years ago. Now my youngest one found it, and it's green, and it says Irish on the front. So he likes wearing the green jacket. My other son has a red jacket. So my youngest one, out of the blue, this is how you know he's a little bit disturbed already at a young age. He came around the corner. He said, "Dad." I was like, "Yeah, buddy. I'm Luigi. He's Mario." I was like, "Oh, there's no hope for you now, son."
That's so awesome, man.
I thought it was awesome, but at the same time, you know, thinking to myself, no, this is the mindset that no female is going to find hot.
Are you kidding? No. In this generation, his generation, that will be the hot.
Oh, well, then he's in there.
He's in. He's set for life. That is one of the most awesome things I've ever heard.
He is really cute, and he just hops around the corner in his green jacket, looking down at it. He said, "I'm Luigi."
That's really cool, man. That's so awesome. I thought it was going to be something bad. That's great.
Oh, no, the 2-year-old, he is the pit and the pendulum to a T, because he can literally like have his head spin around and be like evil and just stomp and kick and punch, and then he can turn around and just flutter the eyelashes at you and say, "I love you, Dad." And right there he could say, "And can I have a car?" And I'd be forced to say yes.
Oh, it's like
thankfully he doesn't realize that yet.
Manipulation.
Thank God neither of them realize that yet.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I know what also I think is cool is the first story on your notes. If it's true, why don't you tell us what it's about?
I've heard it from multiple places, read it in multiple places, and none of the places had it on April Fool's Day. I'll say that. Which, of course, now me just saying that scares me.
Yeah, I know, me too. It was posted on April 1st, or...
I know, but I saw it in like 5 places.
Oh, now that you mention it. All right, let's just tell everybody what it is.
Okay. And I can tell you for a fact, on that day, one of my computers, when I went to do updates, I did have to hit the button 3 times. So I don't know what that was. Could have been me. But, oh man, I'm really upset now, Steve.
So am I.
It is entitled "Lady Gaga Goes Gaga Over Ubuntu." Now, I know she has absurd amount of Twitter followers, for instance, her little monsters, as she calls them. And I do believe that it is her posting to those kind of feeds. So she truly does have direct contact with her fan base. To be honest, I could hear 3 songs from 3 different people. I would have no idea which one hers. Let me just say that. But supposedly she made a positive comment about Ubuntu, said it was fun to use. And then there were about 8 hours of issues on the Ubuntu servers.
Okay. I'm scrolling down at the bottom of this article, and some guy says, I call April Fools on this one. April Fools, anyone? I think, haha, no sources. Let's see. It's not confirmed it's April Fools. Let's see. Can't tell. Cannot tell from the comments. But if this is true, And I also think it's a little shady. They superimposed an Ubuntu logo over her laptop. It's definitely not. She definitely does not have a sticker of Ubuntu on that laptop. It's fake. In fact, I think the whole laptop's fake. But if this is true, this is super, super huge for Ubuntu. Like unbelievably huge. Unbelievably huge. It's not probably going to be the fan base, the user base they wanted, but they're going to have a hell of a lot of users, and every little girl in the world will be using Ubuntu.
Well, to be honest, because Ubuntu is one of the few companies that does have some kind of advertising market. If you watch the World Cup soccer games, there was Ubuntu ads there, and there was also Google ads too, by the way. But Linux in general, its biggest downfall, shortcoming compared to everything else in the computing world is no marketing budget whatsoever. So it's really hard to get the word out to get people to know about it in general.
Yeah, I guess mainstream, but
yeah,
I don't think marketing in the internet age, marketing budget is not success made, you know?
Well, I mean, in RL, the real life kind of thing, you still need some kind of presence in my eyes. Now, it might only be on the really bad show with the hot chick and the dorks. I'll just say 3.5 Men, but Tiger Blood's off the air. Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Now Ubuntu has been mentioned on that show twice, I believe, and which is good, but I don't know if there's enough people watching that show to even could pick up on the word and go take the time to look at what it is.
Well, the problem with that is if Sheldon said it, then people are just going to gloss over it because it's expected half the things that come out of his mouth you're not supposed to understand.
And that was the guy that said it, the Brainiac one.
Yeah, so he probably went right over people's heads as a real thing to use, I would guess.
Right. Where if someone actually in the public eye, an entertainer who's tied in with social media would even hint at it once or even wear a Ubuntu t-shirt once, a large part of the Linux user base would hate it with a passion because they like being the underdog kind of thing, the ones that people don't know about kind of thing, and they don't want it to be really super popular.
Right.
But it would be good for the community as a whole just to get people to know about it and talk about it. And because really what Linux needs is normal people to use it so it can become more usable to those users.
Well, let me ask you this in general. How do you think in general it's going for Linux? I see it being very good. I mean, I see expansion. If you go to like the mega level, like we're talking about, Lady Gaga level, you're right. Do the actual creators of these distros actually want that many people? I don't know. I don't.
Well, the creators of the distros want to completely take their niche and fill it to the extreme, no matter how many people that is. I'm talking about most of the people in Linux are users, and those users, I think they like to feel isolated from the rest of the world,
right?
Because the rest of the world, you're not smart enough to run Linux kind of attitude wise. To be honest, where Linux is going, I believe, primarily because of Mark Shuttleworth's money he poured into this, and to be honest, distros like OpenSUSE, they've made it much, much quicker for a new user to be able to use and comprehend what's going on, at least at a very low level. They don't understand Linux. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people on Ubuntu do not understand what's going on underneath it all. And to a certain degree, they don't need to.
Right.
OpenSUSE does that for a lot of people as well. And a lot of other distros, all they worry about is just, fitting their niche of like the Arch crowd, the Fedora crowd, and all these other distros. They just worry about doing their thing. And then you have like the Myth kind of distros where they just want to make a good product that people can use.
Right.
But Ubuntu really wants to take over the world.
Okay. All right. Well, then, that's their mission, and best of luck to them.
Yeah, and only time will really tell. I think what might happen is as it gains popularity in a more generalized sense, the community as a whole will besmirch it, let's say. But time after time, it will be more accepted, I believe,
Okay.
that yes, this is a popular distro. That's the distro you give to those people, kind of thing. And when you want to get in deeper, further, do some more customizations, then come over here and you can try these too.
I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Next couple things I want to talk about was Ubuntu 11.04.
Sorry, I lagged there for a second. I was looking up besmirch, and I have no idea what that means.
Well, the only reason I know it is from William Regal, or Lord Steven Regal from WWF Wrestling. He constantly would say besmirch.
Damage the reputation of someone or something in the opinion of others. He had besmirched the good name of his family. From
Yes.
Dictionary.com.
It's like a slap.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. The next couple things I'll talk about, it's about Ubuntu 11.04, which I'm going to say it's inevitable. No matter how I or anyone else feels about this, doesn't matter.
Okay.
We like it. We hate it. We think it's the worst thing ever for the community. We think it's the best thing ever for publicity. It doesn't matter where anyone falls. None of it matters. Only thing that matters is the guy with the money in his pocket is happy with what he sees.
Okay.
To be honest, there are some things very interesting going on in this new distribution. Primarily, to me, the whole desktop UI is going to change, but built into the software package management system is going to be a way that you can test drive, if you will, applications. Now, what this means is it's not like it installs and then when you're done using it, it asks you if it wants to uninstall. No, because everybody knows on any operating system, there's no such thing as a perfectly clean install to uninstall. There's always going to be something that's got changed or something that's left over. It's inevitable. Even on my Android phone, it's inevitable.
Right.
What this does is it actually takes advantage of the opt directory, it looks like to me. The opt directory is exactly what you might think it is, optional. It is a place that's intended to have temporary programs, executables, files, cache, anything in it. So it basically installs it to the opt directory.
Okay.
All of the changes are in that opt directory. And when you uninstall it, that directory basically gets wiped.
Okay.
So it will truly be a zero price test drive. You don't have to worry about anything being built up on your system, anything being left over on your system, or anything like that. Now, the only hook's going to be is in the default Ubuntu, you are going to need to install a package called QTNX. Please don't ask what that means. But in the default Edubuntu, Edubuntu, this is going to be a default. So anybody else using the package, the Ubuntu Software Center in their distribution, all you got to do is add this package QTNX, and then you'll be able to do the exact same thing.
I see.
I personally think this is kind of needed.
Why do you say?
Well, because I mean, most users are not like me. Most users do not reinstall their operating system even once a year. Like 86% of the people running Ubuntu are running a 1 year or older version of it. Normaler people stick it in, install it, badoom, and when they're happy, they're good with it until they have a compelling reason. So, you know, people don't like jumping until they feel like there's something beneficial. I think for new users, to know you have a true playground where you can install, play, do whatever you want to do, and then get it completely off your system. It's kind of a nice thing.
Sure. I think it's an awesome thing. Test
Yeah.
driving apps.
Now, what my question is going to be is, let's say hypothetically, I know I'm only going to need this application once or twice. You know what I mean? Can I install in that test environment, put into the application what I want, get out of it what I want, save that, and then get rid of the application?
Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying.
You mean like you're not sure if you could actually save things like documents and stuff?
Yeah, because it might almost be like a sandboxed environment.
Right.
Where if it is, then it might just be harder to get it out. Still possible to get what you want out, but it just might be harder by design.
I see.
The next thing I want to talk about, I want to tell you right now, I did not comprehend at all. I literally had to read. I'm not a reader, Steve. I literally had to read for almost 2 days on what a lens is in Ubuntu 11.04 Unity.
It says it used to be known as Places.
Okay. When I think places, on my menu, applications, places, and system, there's a place called Places. I click that and I see home folder, desktop, computer, 11 gigabyte file system, network, connect to server, search for files. That ain't what this is. This is almost like, the best way I can explain it to a Windows user. Imagine, if you will, you hit your Windows key, and right on that main Windows launcher that pops up, you have the place where you can type or go all programs. And then off on the side, you see computer, network, neighborhood, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine right there being able to insert something called podnutz. And then when you click on that podnutz, now when you type in that start menu, you're searching the podnutz forums, or you're searching the podnutz podcast. A lens, to me, everything I'm looking at, everything I'm reading at, it is very close to being a built into the interface gateway to some sort of web content.
Really?
You can have a the most popular one right now, it is, because it ain't even out yet, is the Gwibber lens, where you click on it. Gwibber is what can link to Facebook, Twitter, Identica, Jabber, Ping FM, all these different things. And you click on that Gwibber lens, and then you get a listing of all the activity. But it's built into the operating system. This isn't a separate application. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you start typing up in the search box, and then you can filter down what you're looking at. So a lens is just a more dynamic, interactive way to look at data sets from the internet.
Strange, yet potential to be cool, right?
Potential to me to be very, very useful. Because to me, that's the whole thing. If you're going to change the desktop interface, your goals should be make things more obvious and lessen people's click count to get what they want to get to.
Right.
And with these lenses, it could be possible. Now, the downfall is going to be, I'm not going to know about a podnutz lens till I know about podnutz. So you're going to have to, it's like a catch-22. You're going to first have to go out to like YouTube, hypothetically, and get this lens. Now, the one for YouTube, you can pick categories. You can say all comedy, education, films, news and politics, which I didn't even know these categories existed in YouTube, okay? But you click on these categories, and then when you look through the lens, there's a search box where, like, when you first go to YouTube, you see the, top rated most popular, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, this lens is going to display that information on the screen. And then as you type, it's basically an interactive search without a web browser. I'll say this, to me, has a possibility of basically changing people's, this can at least temporarily change people's belief on whether or not Unity is a good thing or not. Because I'm telling you, I'm a guy, I love just being able to hit one or two keys to pull up something, type one or two keys and hit enter, and I know I've taken what I wanted to do and I've narrowed it down to a very manageable thing, very easy. Now I can do what I want to do.
I see. Right.
And I think, to be honest, that's what these lenses might be able to do.
Not a good name for them.
I know. I understand in After Effects what they're trying to say. On the left side, you have the menu, the application menu, launcher kind of thing. Each one of those buttons, they want to say, is like a lens, because when you click one, the rest of the screen can change.
Right.
Chapters, I don't know.
It's like launching a mini app. It's almost like the Adobe Air interface. The whole. I mean, a platform.
Yeah.
Except it's instantaneous. It's actually pretty damn cool. I got to admit, Dor.
Yeah, and I'll say what I was thinking about earlier today was all they're really doing. This is not really groundbreaking. This isn't, going to change the world kind of thing. But this is taking a layer of virtual interactive where it used to be most of this interactivity happened in a browser, and they're moving where they expect you to do it at. And one of the key things, I think, to a successful desktop, irregardless of what kind it is, Windows 3.1, Windows 98, Mac 2, anything, GNOME, KDE, is how quickly and how easily can that desktop train you, the user, on how it expects you to use it. To be honest, that I think is my biggest issue with KDE is it doesn't make it obvious to me, or it doesn't train me fast enough on what I'm supposed to do.
I see.
Maybe only because I'm paying more attention to Ubuntu. I'm aware of these things before it launches, so it's pre-training me kind of thing. But I believe this is the kind of thing that, honestly, other things might pick up on.
I think they will. And honest, the more I look at this, the more amazing it actually is to me. I've become accustomed, just because the internet and computers have gotten fast enough, that to do a lot of things from the browser, it was never my real choice. I didn't like doing things from the browser. It was very limited to me. These look like instantly launchable apps, bigger than widgets, smaller than a full-blown app, that allow you to do a lot of things that you would want to do on your computer, like YouTube, and just different things.
Well, here's to me the big pluses to it. It's built into the operating system, so you can offer a lens to anyone running Ubuntu 11.04, period. As long as they're running GNOME, or not KDE, sorry, Unity Edition. You as a website developer, the maintainer of any kind of data on the internet, you can offer them this lens. And anyone can develop a lens. It's not, they said, super difficult. The code was not miles and miles long, which of code that I saw, like Kleb Faults. He showed me some of the code he did to the Android app. That code looked much, much longer than the code I saw for some of these applications. It didn't look at all super complicated, hard, or anything. It was almost like a plug-in kind of architecture.
Right.
So I truly believe in no time you're going to have download squad lens, life hacker lens.
If anybody wants to make a podnutz lens, go for it.
I want to take a look at this, I'm not going to lie, but if anyone else wants to jump the gun, feel free.
All right, let Dor do it first.
Damn.
No,
Okay.
no, I want you to, you said you want to do it first, right?
I would like to look at it. And by first, I mean just me, not first in the world. I would like to look at it because from what I saw, it didn't look complicated. The only question is how is the content you want to get structured on the internet?
Right.
Like with podnutz, honestly, we would need to have a little bit of information, I think, about the Drupal database.
Ah,
I don't know. We can anyway. Anybody go look at it, and I'll go look at it, and we'll see what happens.
okay.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to talk about is other applications are already preemptively trying to make sure they're compatible with the new look feel of Ubuntu 11.04, and that is a sign to me that one less thing for new users to complain about will be like, well, there's not new applications for it, you know? Well, because Ubuntu Tweak is definitely one of the more popular applications.
Right.
It's like saying, it's like you're giving the drunk a third arm and a second mouth to drink by offering a Ubuntu user Ubuntu Tweak. Part of the reason people like Linux is the fact that you can customize to your heart's content. And that really does draw certain people to it. Now Ubuntu Tweaks makes accessing those things to customize even easier. So it just shortens the path, shortens the number of clicks it takes for you to do your tweaks and to install certain software and stuff like that. It is one of those applications I highly encourage any new user to download just to look at the possibilities of things you can do, because it really is cool. And they're going out of their way to making sure their application is Ubuntu Unity ready.
No, it's smart. Why? I mean, it's the smart thing to do. Why wouldn't they? That as a business, that's what I would try to do too.
Yeah, and so many Ubuntu users, literally first thing they go and do is install Ubuntu Tweak.
Really?
Like the first thing the Windows users do when they install their operating system is go to Windows Update for 6 hours, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm happy to see application developers are behind it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say one way or the other how I feel about it yet. I am going to download it and install it on a box, because when it's this close to release, I just install it. Just so I don't have to wait for slow downloads.
So it's not technically released, but what, you could get the beta version?
There's 25 days left. Right now they're on release candidate 3, I believe.
Okay. That's got to be pretty much there.
It is close. There is going to be some tightening of the hatches, but here's the beautiful thing. Every time I've done this, the day of release, when I do my last updates for that day, I have exactly what somebody would have if they downloaded it that day. So I just get it early, you know. The next thing I want to talk about, it's kind of not needed unless you're one of those guys. You want to know what's going on your computer, and you want to be able to basically order your computer around to make it do exactly what you want to do. In Ubuntu, there's an application called Startup Manager. I would think of Startup Manager as auto runs.
Boot up manager or startup manager?
Startup Manager.
Okay.
That's built into Ubuntu. And this is kind of like what did I say? My brain fried.
MS config?
MS config. I don't even know what I said. Auto runs, I said. Yeah, that's wrong.
No, that's it's both. Both are correct.
Well, MS config sounds right to me right now. It's like MS config, to where you can go through some screens and you can do some clicks and unclicks, but you really don't get to the whole deep of what's going on that computer. Where if you download auto runs, a sysinternals application, your eyes like, oh my lord, all this stuff is loading.
Right.
You know, MS config didn't tell me all that. There's an application you can download called Bum. like, hey, teacher, he hit me in me bum. Boot up manager. And what this application does, it's very much like auto runs, to where not only do you see the applications that are launching, but you see the services like Bluetooth manager, Samba manager. If you install FTP or a web server or a print server, you can see all those things running in the background at boot, and you can disable them. This is what I highly encourage people to do, to use, to take advantage of, only if you are strapped for resources like bad, and you feel like Ubuntu is the distribution, or Linux Mint is the distribution that you should use at this stage. This is, I can tell you, a very, very simple, easy way to quicken the boot time and to just make a computer with like 128 megs of RAM more usable.
Sure. It's like the auto runs of Linux, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I like the fact that it was very intuitive. The screens made a lot of sense. And like, if you look at something and it says open LDAP server SLAPD, and you're like, I don't even know what that is. You can just quickly Google open LDAP server, and you can see very quickly. This is something, if anyone doesn't know what any of these things are, let me Google this for you.com. It's just that easy. You just put in the exact title of this. The very first result is going to tell you primarily what this application service executable is, and then you can decide on your own whether or not you want to disable it. If you are at all concerned, again, I said a couple weeks ago, just disable one or two at the most, reboot the computer, test normal functionality, and if it's okay, go ahead and launch it again and look at any more stuff that you want to disable. Don't go through and go eeny, meeny, miny, mo,
Right.
and just pick them all and then hit reboot and then wonder why your computer doesn't boot.
Right.
Because I've done that before.
Me too.
Well, a while ago, I'll say,
It's called impatience.
Impatience, and I even did it to a customer's computer one time with the application on Windows, Saludo.
Yes.
SLUTO. I said, well, let me see what this application does. Let me see what it's all about. No, really. Then it was like click, 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 and I just clicked everything. And then I rebooted the computer and nothing worked. So, patience is a virtue. Take your time. Don't rush it. Everything that your mama used to say. Next thing I want to talk about, it's honestly the first time I've ever heard about this application, and I'm kind of upset at myself because this to me seems like a absolutely golden application. It's called Fang Office, FENG. What this basically is think of it as a like office collaboration tool, but it's strictly web-based. So everybody in your office or on your LAN can access this in one central place, and it's a web server basically. So you can have this set up for your small office where you just have a box sitting in the corner. You install this on Ubuntu, and then you just go through a web browser. This really does make it a lot easier to manage projects and task services, and I believe it has some calendaring in here as well. And I believe it also has shared documents and files. So to be honest, where this would be perfect for is like Matt Rainey having his centralized place where he has all of the docs for all of the support that he does for all the businesses. To have it in a graphical user interface isn't a bad thing, even if it's a web interface. It makes for searching and indexing much easier. I mean, for instance, for a brand new employee to have the availability to just search on an application, Peachtree, and going through an interface like this and seeing 30 documents on all these kind of different this one was from business A, this was from company A. Oh, look, this one vendor contacted, and then they actually contacted that vendor, and they could see right here's a document from that vendor. Let me take a look at that document. This is the kind of tool that can make, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, the consumption of content, number one, so much easier, so much more pleasant, so much less like work, number one. But then two, the project management aspect of it is really one of those things I think a lot of people, even individuals, could very easily benefit in. Sorry. That audio, that dang audio.
Was that Haytel?
No, that was Fang Office.
And
I gotta say, just looking at this screenshot I have in there, this is the classic, and this is a horrible thing that most people hate hearing. This will be, if you do it yourself, a classic example of garbage in, garbage out. If you don't take the time to properly tag and organize the stuff you're putting into a system like this, it is worthless and a waste of time. If you just willy-nilly add 30 documents to them, and the only tag on those documents is documents, you might as well have not even added those documents.
I see. It looks comprehensive. And this is open source?
Yeah. Open source, free. There is a paid version or a paid service they offer. This is the freemium kind of thing that we've seen more than a couple times. If you go to the community tab on the top, there is a download section right there. When you're setting up for the free trial, it's basically them hosting it for you. So you can access it anywhere. You don't have to worry about updating the server, backing up the server, any of that kind of thing. It's all done for you.
Nice.
But it does have a free trial. So even if you want to just see it in live action for yourself, you can go ahead and test that out. And I have a link on How to Forge. How to Forge is just one of those sites, to be honest. They're gold in the fact of when they do document something, they document it almost too good. Very, very, very step by step. And the only downside I'll say about them is when the process gets too long, it turns into a lot of multi-pages. This is page 1 of 4. Click 2 of 4. Click 3 of 4. That's my only gripe about the site, and that's really not bad.
No, if that's the worst part.
Right. And it's a good step-by-step, I'll say, when it actually tells you restart the web server. I've seen more than a couple tutorials. They don't tell you simple things like that. Where you can see it says install this, and then it's telling you, install this web application. Okay, it's installed. Now go to your browser and go to this web address. Well, it's not going to work. It's just installed. It isn't running.
Right.
There's a lot of things out there that don't take you through a true step-by-step, where How to Forge does it very frequently through every single little step.
I see. Very cool.
Yeah. And keeping on the pretty topic, this next tool, to be honest, I mentioned this tool, it might be more than a year ago now, Steve, on podnutz. Yeah, on like podnutz daily, I'll say.
Must have been, because I don't remember it.
Yeah. This is one of the most simplistic yet functional and lightest and compatible, I'll say, cloning imaging software I think I've used on the face of the planet. Now, Clonezilla is good. I love Clonezilla. I'm never talking bad about Clonezilla. But once in a while, if you don't get on that bike once in a while and pedal, once in a while you'll get on the bike and it's been a year and you'll try to pedal and you'll pedal the wrong way. What's the worst that can happen? You don't move. So then you put your foot back down and then you pedal the right way, right?
Right.
Not with Clonezilla. Once in a while you clone the wrong way and you clone an empty drive back to the full drive. And I've done that before too, but that's been a couple years. That's where this kind of tool can make it impossible for that to happen.
Why? Because the GUI's so nice?
The GUI is so unbelievably wizardly friendly and nice. Also, it is intelligent. It's intelligent in the fact of you'll have multiple drives. Okay, if you don't have multiple drives, it will not let you do a clone. Okay. Period. It will only let you do an image, and then you have to point it, and then it will only let you take the image from a physical disk, and it will only let you put it to a remote server via FTP or so on the fashion. If you do have multiple disks, then it will let you do a clone. If you try to clone from a empty drive to a fill drive, it will give you a warning and say, this does not look like you're doing it right.
Something's wrong here.
Something's wrong here. Or if you try to clone from a bigger drive to a smaller drive, no. Something does not look right here. And I don't know if I said it right the first time, but from an empty drive to a full drive, it actually can look at the data and tell you, no, this does not look right.
Wow.
Now, for a stupid, absurd plus that I gotta mention, okay, not only is this utterly gorgeous as far as I'm concerned way of doing what it says bare metal recoveries, which just means you boot to a different environment than what's on the computer and you can image and restore backups to it. But you can, while you're in that boot session, in that live session, you can hardwire into the internet or configure Wi-Fi if it gets picked up right into the internet, and you can check out your Facebook or go to twitter.com. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. It is, to be honest, it is one, I'm just going to say it again, one of the most pretty tools, interfaces I've used, period. And I hate the fact that their screenshots are non-existent.
I know, man. Well, they put 4 like little pieces up there in the homepage. It's at redobackup.org if anybody's checking it out. But they don't put like a nice bunch of them there.
Right. I believe if you just do all one word, redo backup, and then go to images, you can find some, but they're not going to be like high quality, full screen kind of thing. But this really is the tool I highly encourage anyone who is at all uncomfortable with cloning or imaging, and you're really new to this entire process, do not pick up Clonezilla and think, I'm going to use this. Everybody else then uses this. Clonezilla is, to be honest, a little bit of an advanced tool. It's good. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's a little advanced. But yeah, right from the interface, you can access Facebook, Google Calendar, Meebo. It's chat via multiple protocols through a web app, YouTube, and Reload. I don't know what that is, but you can do web browsing, file editing, terminal emulation, partition editing, and then on top it, imaging, cloning, whole lot of stuff. This is the tool I highly encourage people. If you're new to cloning and imaging, you really need to honestly give it a fair shake.
Looks good to me. Looks like it's right down my alley as far as GUI.
Oh, I just liked it because I literally didn't have to think about it. I appreciate that sometimes.
Yes.
Just walking up, being able to just go, Click. Okay, now let me go back and let me watch some more.
It's the way it should be.
Oh, by the way, have you heard of lingerie football?
Oh, we didn't talk. I never talked about that on
Oh,
Nuts at Night.
no. Lalo was the one that told me about it. No, I don't think you have.
Oh, maybe not. It's a wonderful, wonderful sport.
I just need football, okay? And he said it actually is football, but it's lingerie football. And it's really not lingerie. They're in pads and everything else.
Yeah, it's awesome. In a word, I mean, it's great, and the girls are good, man. They go all out. They play hard.
Let me tell you something. Girls are in a lot of cases more competitive than guys. In my high school, we had a girl, okay, a woman, softball team. She could pitch, I think it was 93 mile an hour underhanded softball pitch. She literally struck out every boy, and they were all boys when she was done with them, boy in the county.
Really?
All of the baseball players. Whiff them right by them.
That's super awesome. Is she like on the U.S. Olympic team or anything now?
Her and her sister both tried out for it. When they graduated, Olympics just ended, so there was 3 years to wait. So I know because I wanted to see them. You know, I wanted something more than Tony Braxton to come from my high school.
That's great.
I know. Not about that. Okay. This is cool, Steve. This is a very cool game that is a downloadable demo right now. This game is called Project
Bossa
Nova, which is kind of like Casanova, but Bossa Nova. Now here's the bad. To me, honestly, this is my bad. I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
Project Bossa Nova, great name, will deliver the first ever 3D game to run exclusively on Linux.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of that.
Right.
I mean, I would be thoroughly tickled if I hear people say, well, yeah, but I had to install Linux. I wanted to play that game. You know, that's when you know the end of the world is coming near. Okay? I would love for people hear people say that, but I don't want to force people to do this kind of stuff. You know,
gimmicky. You want to be gimmicky, you mean?
I don't want them to do it for that reason. If they say we're doing it on Linux only because it's an easier platform, you know, to do this in a cross-platform fashion, it would be really hard and take much more work. Where if we just do it on Linux from this one code base, it'll be much easier to do. You know, then I can't argue with them. But I'll say, looking at this game, okay, I know I got bad eyes, Steve, you know what I mean? But you've heard of Crysis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crysis, if they take it and put it on anything, PlayStation 3, Xbox, anything, they have to stick a screwdriver in it and turn it down like 20 notches,
right,
to get it so it will actually run on PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360.
Right.
The only way you can get true Crysis is on a computer. And it's like a 5-year-old game, but you still need a pretty expensive computer to run it at full specs.
Right.
A guy at work has a $4,000 computer, yada, yada. I've seen Crysis on his computer, okay?
Yeah.
This, to me, looks competitive.
Really?
Competitive with Crysis, I'll say. Competitive.
Well, this is an RPG, though, right? It's not MMO?
I think it is a RPG, yes. I'm just saying, I'm just really happy to see it's an MMO. I'm really happy to see just game developers just doing stuff on Linux, because a guy in the forum, really smart, knowledgeable guy, I'll say, I'll lead it with that, did a post where I said, I think the head of the post was called Why Linux is Better. And he put in there every bit of 3,000 words, I'll say, on why it isn't better. With this, he started with, I am a Linux user and I love Linux, but it's not all that's cracked up to be. Like he says how people shout, there's no viruses on Linux. Well, he points out, yes, there is. My logic is like this. It's like saying, okay, if I point my finger up at the sky, there's actually 48 quadrillion trillion possibilities of where my finger can end up.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And only 3 of them will be pointing exactly at life. Okay? What are the odds I'm going to be pointing at life? Slim to none.
Right.
But it exists.
Right.
Viruses on Linux do exist. But you have better odds of hitting the lotto. Okay? There's no doubt in my mind. You have more, because how many people I know now that run Linux is quite a lot of people. I don't know anyone who's ever had an infection. Ever. And everybody I know who's ever ran Windows has had an infection, and the ones that say they've never been infected are lying. Okay? Because everybody gets infected.
Right,
It's only a matter of time. So, you know, he went on to make a bunch of valid points, but at the same token, I gotta say, Linux is better because it is safer. Even if it's as popular as Windows, there might be as many viruses or as much malware, but it will be not as destructive as it is on Windows because Windows doesn't understand how to spell security, and Linux is a true multi-user segmented operating system with security as its baseline. And that's only one of the topics. He went on to make 30 points, and most of them very valid points. And honestly, you got about as somebody who is able to put that many words together and not just hit, never mind, and close the tab in Firefox. I mean, that there's passion. And to be honest, he's the kind of guy I want on my side when all things said and done. And one of the things he said in there was, you know, people say there are games on Linux. Well, most of them just completely suck, you know, because there's no Call of Duty 4, right, you know, these kind of right now popular games. To which my logic with that is kind of like, that's like telling me now the music I listened to back in the late 80s sucked because I wasn't listening to the New Kids on the Block.
I think it's different though, Dor. You know why?
Well, those kind of games are fads. I'll say that.
It's not just that. They're multi-million-dollar productions. It's like they have backing of different sorts and teams and this and that. And Linux games probably don't have that much power and money behind them as the PC games.
Well, to me, honestly, it's the same kind of thing. Like New Kids on the Block back then. Like Britney Spears a couple years ago. Just because they made all this money does not mean they are any good in actuality. Right. Most of these games, I believe, are fads. They're not really, in like 8 years, 5 years even, nobody's going to be playing those games because there's no actual appeal to them. Right. They just have that drug addict, fix right now. We're, to be honest, most of the games I played on Linux have a little bit of depth to them because they are free. They're too easy to drop and get rid of. I know this is kind of a cliche argument. Because they're free, they're very easy to get rid of. They have to have something to pull you in a little bit further.
Oh, I see.
So most of the time, the gameplay is a little bit better. The graphics usually aren't as good.
Right, but I'm telling you, to me, because I'm actually with you on this. I'm just explaining why maybe, you know, those games get more attention than other games. And I love better. I'll take better gameplay over graphics any day. And
I know, but look at these graphics.
No, I know. Okay, so you're making the argument like this has both, right?
I'm hoping.
Okay. Yeah, the graphics look great on this game. I admit.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's one of those things. In my age, I'll say, call me a crusty old curmudgeon, whatever. I don't want 3 million 16-year-olds playing the same game I'm playing. I don't want it. I don't want it. If that means I'm not playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare with Parth Thurrott, hearing the sound of achievements going up, that's okay.
It's fine with me too.
That's
Trust
fine
me.
with me. I don't want to play that. I'll much rather play online bowling with people I can hold a conversation with
Right.
instead of just hearing people talk bad about my mother the whole time.
Right.
I digress, Steve. You shouldn't let me go on too long with that.
No,
Either
no,
way,
I like
the
it.
game looks cool. The game honestly looks really friggin' cool. I'm gotta download the demo, but I'm afraid I'm not gonna be able to run it.
It looks pretty amazing. So you compared this to Crisis without even running it.
The screenshots.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I mean, I just saw this today, Steve.
Okay. I just thought you played it. Okay.
No, I just saw it today, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, whoa, that looks really sharp.
It does.
And then I went to my buddy who had the Crisis, and he just, put his head back, looked at the screen, he said, that does look pretty good. But he wouldn't compare it with Crisis,
Right.
For shame. Okay, next one to talk about, it's just a couple quick command line applications. And I really want people to go look at screenshots, if you're listening to this on the audio feed, of these applications. Mostly everybody believe when they hear command line application, okay, the first one is a torrent application. They're going to believe, okay, it's a torrent application. You just type the name of the application, space torrent, and then you just see a thing go across. And that's the application. Command line applications actually can have tabbable interfaces where you can jump around the screen, jump to different screens, different tabs on the screen, and do different things. I don't want people to think it's constraint to just a command line entry, hard return, enter stuff, hard return, enter stuff, hard return. There is actual usable interfaces. The most popular one is not even on this list, I don't think, and it is called Lynx. I think it's Lynx, and it is a browser, a web browser in the command line. People like Jonathan Nadeau, visually impaired, that's the preferred way of experiencing the internet because there's no flash they got to worry about loading. JavaScript doesn't exist, so the pages load. Bang, bang, bang. If somebody today who's been using normal bloated browsers, because that's what they really are, and all honestly, I use it too. You use them day in and day out, and then you go to Lynx on the command line, and if you know how something is done on a web page, like the podnutz forms, for instance, you would be blown away at the speed that the actual internet moves.
Really?
Okay. Oh yeah. You hit enter before your finger is off that key, that whole page is loaded.
Interesting.
Because when we're in these bloated browsers, to be honest, we got to wait for the rendering and the pictures to download and the JavaScript to run in the browser to say, here you go. Here you go. Because to be honest, that kind of stuff happens a lot on a lot of websites. The best example is Lifehacker. If you go to Lifehacker on a portable connection, like 3G connection, but you're not using a mobile browser, you go to Lifehacker and you see the page load, and then it goes, working, and then like an extra 5 seconds later, then the actual content pops up because this JavaScript they have running. Oy vey is all I'll say. Another application that, to be honest, is very popular in the
what's the link here?
Internetling.
Internetling.com. Cool command line apps for GNU Linux and other Unix systems is the name of the article. Check it out.
Thank you very much, Steve, because I'm like, Interling? Bash Potter. To be honest, this is an application I used for years as my podcatching client, because to go from iTunes to anything else is an absurd improvement in speed. And then if you go from anything else to Bash Potter to be your podcast catcher is the same absurd improvement in speed. All it is a shell script. You have a file, config.conf or podcast.conf, and you just simply put the the URL to the RSS file, and then space the path to where you want the files to go. Not hard.
No.
Then you run this on the command line, and it basically systematically goes out, checks everything, downloads it, puts it all in the right directory. And there are improvements to it, bash potter, mash potter, and there's like one or two more that enables for more functionality, like feed URL space the number of files to download back space the place where you want to put the files. So you might always want the last two, for instance. I don't know.
So that's what you used on the command line?
That's what I used for the longest time, only because I could also do it as a cron script. I like that. I could say, okay, well, at midnight, start this cron script. And then I knew by, 2 or something in the morning, everything would be downloaded and updated. Then at 2 o'clock, I had another tool that would take the files and copy them over to my portable device.
I see.
Now I have the Android. I just use Dog Catcher.
Right,
it works.
Right. These apps look like if you ever tried to watch like a big budget movie who tries to act like they have a geeky looking computer running some special programs, all these programs look like they would be in Windows on that screen. You know what I mean?
I agree wholeheartedly. And to be honest, if you know these applications, don't be shocked if you do see them once in a while.
Yeah.
Now the tools I wanted to put in just real quick at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Finch. Finch is a implementation of Pigeon, the IRC IM chat client that I cannot stop using, but all in the command line. And it actually has an interface where on the left side you see the users, the rooms, and everything. And then on the right, you actually see the screen where you can see all the chat log and everything. And the second one is Mutt, M-U-T-T. This is actually a very, very, very popular email client. And it's because, like your web page browsing command line, zip, 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 same thing with email. Email in text only, the interface, if you're using Outlook, is 90% of the weight. It isn't the email itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to wait for this blobby application to load and this blobby application to connect and this blobby application to download everything and put it in a database, file. And then for the database to be expanded back into a view you can see. Takes way too long. Mutt is lightning quick. And I used it on my EEE for more than a couple months. And it worked great with Google IMAP. I had zero issues. And it was literally before I knew I had an email on another computer, because I had like Gmail, like a notifier thing on the taskbar, and it would check every minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes before that thing told me I had an email, on my EEE, I already had the email opened and was starting to respond to it.
Wow, dude.
Because
on the EEE slow computer.
Yeah. And only because Mutt was so snappy.
These are neat, man. This is very cool.
Yeah. The next two are actually in tandem. The first one is called GUVC View. Man, these names are doing me hard tonight, Steve. If you go to ghacks.net, it is basically how to record your webcam in Linux with GUVC View.
GUVC View. What a dumb name.
Yeah, good. And it even says open up Ubuntu Software Center and search for GUVC View. Now, horrible name. But this is a way where if you only want to record what's coming out of your webcam image, this is a very down and dirty, quick snap. It's recording thing.
Neat.
It doesn't matter how big you have your webcam, how small you have your webcam. Doesn't matter if you're not looking at the webcam. It's recording what's coming in on the webcam on its native resolution. So you don't have to worry about what the window is doing kind of thing.
Right.
The second one I've used more than a couple times, and it's called record my desktop. Now, record my desktop is a command line tool. There's two GUIs on that you can put on top. One is called GTK record my desktop, and QT record my desktop.
What's one? QuickTime?
No, one is KDE, the QT implementation, and one is the GNOME GTK interface. It's basically both of those layers, the QT and the GTK, are at the most, I would guess, a meg. You know what I mean? They're really just a fine little gloss on top of the actual engine that does all the work. The one thing I will tell people about is if you are using the GTK record my desktop in Ubuntu as of 9:04, I think it is, one of the things you have to do is you have to go into the settings of this application and you have to change the sound device into the word pulse, Pulse. The default, it says default. You have to change it to pulse for it to record the audio. That's the only thing you have to do. And then you simply can hit record, and it will record everything that's happening on your desktop and coming over your mic, or if you're piping sound out of an audio player, it'll record that. And then when you're done, there's a little notification bar icon. You just click that, and it copies a .ogv file, I believe, OGG Vorbis video file to your home directory, and you have everything that was on your screen. Now you can shrink it and only record a part of it, or you can, set custom sizes. I just always did the full desktop, and it always records it at its full native desktop resolution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we are working with a little bit with Camtasia, but I guess it's more cheaper and does the job.
Well, here's the only downside I have with this application. If you do a 20-minute video and then hit done, it instantly does that transcoding.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that.
Into the OGG Vorbis format, which means it can take as long to transcode as it did to record that video. Where the other tools I've seen, including Camtasia, it seems like it's actually transcoding it on the fly to something native to its own application kind of thing.
It is. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not. It's not compressing it. It's lossless. So
yeah, it's lossless. And I tell you, when I hit done, the most I see is the meter go for like 30 seconds, and it's done.
Yeah.
It just works good.
Yeah, this shouldn't automatically transcode. It's not, because it's buffering to some type of file. It should just save it as that, and then let you decide what you want to transcode it into.
Yeah, it's putting it into the TMP directory, because if you hit that record and then, let's say you get a phone call,
yeah,
and you forget you're recording, and then you come back in an hour, your hard drive can be filled up. And then you got to reboot, and you got to delete everything in that folder.
Okay, thanks for the warnings.
Not that I would know anything about that.
Thank you for the warnings.
Yeah. Okay. This next page, to be honest, is going to make new users so comfortable. I'll say that. And it's called
Dora, I lost you. Come back, Dora. Dora. We lost Dora. We will be back after this short technical difficulty. That was a hard crash. I think his router just dumped on him. We'll get him back soon. APPNR is the name of the next website he's talking about. APPNR.com. What does it do? I wish I could talk about what Door was going to talk about, but I don't know what Door would talk about until Door comes back. I think he's rebooted now. I think he is. Here he is.
Hey, man. Sorry with that.
That's all right. What happened?
I don't know. The router didn't reset.
It didn't?
It didn't. And then seconds before you called, I looked up and I saw the last 3 lights going through like a power cycle.
Something power cycle. That was,
Yeah.
I could tell from my end usually if there's a hardcore crash like that because I get nothing.
Yeah.
But
It's Comcastic.
Comcast. I don't want to say it.
Yes.
Let me play where you were left off. We got you at tell me if you could hear this, Door.
Be honest.
Can you hear that?
It's going to make new users so comfortable.
Can you hear that? Make new users so comfortable? You didn't hear that? Door? Door, you there? We lost him again. Shoot! Look at that. Look at that image, though, of Door. Uh-oh. Door's having problems. Poor Door. Hopefully we'll be able to finish. Plus, Door's supposed to be on Podnutz tonight, so I hope he gets his connection sorted out. We'll be right back, guys. I'm going to call Matt Rainey and make sure he's lined up for tonight. Be right back. Go live again.
Cool, man.
All right, let me make you full screen. And last thing you said, Door, is... Let me see.
Well, I'll say that. And it's called...
Oh, you're talking about this website. Door, you're still with me, right? Tell me you are. Door, you're still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. That was my fault.
Dang.
That was my
Because
fault.
I hate it because every time you say, oh, we lost Door, I can still hear you talking.
Oh, crap. Well, your video definitely freezes. So I think your video goes out before your audio. So what you hear, you don't hear much after that, though, I'll bet.
I hear like at least 5 to 8 seconds more of Door. Oh, we lost Door. Look at that picture, though. I did hear you say something like, but look at that image.
Oh, no, the way your video froze, you had this great image. You'll see it on the replay.
I'm afraid.
All right, let's go over to the. I'm going to do the screenshot and then talk about this this site APPNR. Ready in 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, this site, it brings a new user back to a comfortable place, I'll say. Because APPNR.com allows you to browse like a Snap Files or a download.com, and it allows you via a web page to click a link that actually can perform a local install on your local repository. If you're on Windows and you just go to this page and you try to click a link, you're going to see an error because it's trying to link to apt colon and then an application name.
So it's only for Linux.
It's only for Linux.
And what do you mean local repository?
This basically reconnects back to your local Synaptic Ubuntu Software Center, and it actually performs the install. This is just a browser-based way of browsing the applications, reading reviews from people and stuff.
Super awesome.
Yeah, to be honest, this is a site I like, and then I forget the name of it for like 8 months, and then I spend like 3 months sitting there going, I know, come on.
It's not a memorable name, APPNR. It's lame.
I know it isn't, but I like, to be honest, when I find it, only because it has user ratings and you can easily sort.
You know what? Let me take that. Let me take it back, because some of these guys actually hear about their apps on the show. I really don't think APPNR is a lame name. I take it back. I think it's a cool name.
I'll just say, if it does stand for something, I don't know what it stands for.
Okay.
But and I can tell you, this has been around at least 2 years, I'll say. The first time I found it, and the thing I really liked about it was this was the Ubuntu Software Center before there was an Ubuntu Software Center. Because the categories they have here made discovery of an application so easy. And to be honest, this was the first site I ever saw that utilized what Twitter had, where you scroll to the bottom and then it automatically keeps kicking out more pages as you go. This was actually the first site I saw that used that tool. That's
a great tool. I do like the simplicity of the site too. Easy to search, big fat search bar at the top. I'm into it. I'm into it. They need a better logo, I think. That's what I'm going to make that for them.
Yeah. And I like the fact that I can take a link from this page and email it to somebody. And they're going to click the link, see the thing, and they can click install. So there's no confusion. One of the things I have an issue with is some people, Windows users, I think, are used to complication. And when I say you need to install Wine, well, they go and they click in here and then they search in here and then they see WINE. And then they see WINE 1.3. They think, I must need that 1.3 version. Did I tell you to install 1.3? No. I told you to install Wine. Wine is actually a front end. It's not an application at all. Wine in the repository says, go install the latest version of Wine, no matter what it is. Same thing in this. If you go look on the very main page, there's Wine, and it says something to the effect of, this is only a dummy package, because this is not a real package. This is nothing more than a link to the real packages. But then you can simply appnr-.com/package/wine. I can email somebody that link and say, here, you need to install Wine. And voila. There's no confusion about what they need to install.
I see. I see. Huh.
This is good. I mean, I'm a fan of the local repository system. I'm sorry, local package management system with the repository system and how it works and how it makes things secure, how it updates everything, not just the OS and that kind of thing. But I also like seeing dynamic web interfaces for things, because now anyone can make any interface they want, and they can leave out applications if they want. They can link to other applications where instead of clicking install, you click download and it takes you to the website to download something that isn't in the repo. So it basically, this kind of thing can open doors to what people know.
I like it. Very cool site.
Okay, back on the games again, and that's because I found this one last second. Warsaw, WARSOW.net.
Ooh, this looks cool.
This is a free download. I believe you can buy like quicker level ups and like high-end power kind of things. It's one of those freemium model games, but it's free to download, free to play, truly cross-platform, Windows, Linux, and Mac, first-person shooter that definitely has, to me, all of the makings of a very attractive game for people. People want to say, well, there aren't really good popular games on Linux. Really quick, number one, so you're going to blame Linux for that? That's like saying, there are no cool cars in my neighborhood, so I'm going to blame the cars. No, it's the people.
Right.
If you want better games on Linux, you have to tell the game developers where you want it, especially by supporting cross-platform games, because I want to pwn people on Mac and on Windows and on Linux as well, not just on Windows. And I got to say, this game not only is like silly, quick, fast-paced action, it looks not perfect graphics. There's a little bit of cell shading. It looks like it's going on a little bit on the explosions and stuff.
Still,
but it still looks
great.
Good.
Looks great.
Yeah. This is the kind of game where if I had a good controller, I think I might try to play.
Really?
Because I'm not a keyboard mouse kind of guy. I've learned that over the years.
Really?
Can't do it. Brain doesn't work like that.
I had a little bit of a stint with Far Cry, and that was the limit. That was the limit of my first-person shooter.
Gotcha. Okay, now this next link, here you go. This is the link I posted in the forums that caused the kerfluffle of feedback from certain peoples, which I gotta say again, I really respect the guy that did that long feedback, because for the most part, what he said, it had valid points to it. But here's like the gimmick. Why Linux is better.net. If you simply go there, this is, I will say, a biased propaganda site. I'll first say that. With that said, you tell me something in this universe that isn't biased, and I'll call you a liar. Everybody is biased about something in some way. Websites are the same thing. But here's a for instance, the very first thing, forget about viruses. If you click that, it basically says in the very first line of the second paragraph, Linux hardly has any viruses. It does not say there are no such thing as viruses on Linux. There's no such things. This doesn't say you are never going to get infected. This does not say you cannot get infected. This does not say lies like that. It does come kind of clean and say Linux hardly has any viruses. Now, it gives reasons on why. You can take that, you can argue those things, but you gotta say, for being a biased site, they actually kind of come a little bit of clean on some of these things. Like, don't pay hundreds of dollars for your operating system. Yes, granted, you buy an HP computer, you're not paying hundreds of dollars. You're actually only paying the end price like $30 for Windows. So when it says you're paying $100, you're really not, unless, of course,
you're buying it separately.
You're buying it separately, or you bought a computer, it came with XP, now you want to put Windows 7 on it.
Yeah.
You're paying $100.
Exactly.
There's no getting around it. If you're legal, you're paying $100. But, I'll just say, I thought this was a good place to point Linux users to tell them of why they need to tell other people when asked what is better about Linux. And I'll say, like, one of the things on here that I did not really agree with at all, I will say, is towards the lower left, it says use MSN, AIM, ICQ, Jabber with a single program. When you talk about applications, there is so much less favoritism for applications, because for that, Pigeon is completely cross-platform and works on everything. So that doesn't make Linux better.
You mean because you could get it on Pigeon? I mean, you could get it on Windows. You mean?
Yeah,
I see.
So you don't need to have Linux on there. Now, I think Pigeon is an argument's sake to use on its own, because you can copy the config file from Windows to Mac, from Mac to Linux, and all around again, and you don't have to re-import all your settings, reconnect to all your buddies, do all this kind of thing over again. That file, I'll say, to be honest, I found this to be a little bit of a educational site to go to. It's definitely a little bit older, and if you have any question or whether or not the site is biased or not, just go to the very bottom of that main page, and you'll see a penguin looking up with a fly swatter behind his back, looking at a Microsoft butterfly flying. Of course it's going to be a little bit biased.
Yeah.
Get over it. I'm biased.
Where did you find that response to it?
Oh, that's in the podnutz forums.
Oh, okay.
Under Linux distros and tips, I believe it is under.
Interesting.
And look, I don't want anybody to go in and act rude to the guy that did that posting, because what he said was absolutely right. But I don't know if he realized a lot of what he said, he agreed with the website. That's all I'm saying. Okay, and one more time, Steve, we're going to talk about a really big shoe. Open source game development.
Yes.
We're reaching this again, Steve. But this is different. This is open sourced board game and card game development.
Weird.
Anything's possible, Steve. If you wanted to make your, instead of a Monopoly, for instance, so it's hypothetical.
Podnopoly?
Podnopoly. Or for my son, I wanted McLaughlin-opoly.
McLaughlin.
I don't know why on our Lord I want that, because everybody be broke. But you can make a board game off of any idea you wanted to make it off of.
No way.
I found this to be utterly interesting and cool at the same time. Of course, there's going to be some kind of limits to it, because you can't have an infinite world of possibilities. There's always going to be stuff you do. But either way, looking at this, I found it very interesting on some of the things you can do, on some of the ideas you can put in a board game and in a card game. Some of the card game, it almost looks like, oh man, I can't remember what it's called. I don't want to say like Risk-esque, but it's like the old Japanese war-like games where you were a colony going against other colonies.
It looks like Risk.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff going on here, I gotta say. Yeah, this is the grid-based one where it's like turn-based. I don't want to say it is a strategy game, real-time strategy game. So if you want to make a different kind of game, and it's a board game or a card game, maybe, I don't know, Pokemon, maybe, I don't know. You need to go check this out. If it's podnutz related, I don't know who would be on the other side. I wouldn't want to put Tech Nibble. I like Bryce. He's a really nice guy.
Put some hated thing, not a competitor, something unrelated.
Oh, Geek Squad.
There you go.
Just crush the Geek Squad.
I'm into that. No, this is neat though. Board game creator. Never saw one before. Leave it to the door.
I'll say this: finding open source game development applications or IDEs, or what you see, what you get kind of interfaces to create games. It seems to me very difficult to sort through the Google and find what you're looking for.
Really?
That kind of thing. Because there are many, 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 many of them out there, but everybody wants to SEO their way into convincing you have to buy a product.
Uh-huh.
But I'll say there are plenty of free ones out there that exist, and if you're at all interested in doing it, you need to just go at it.
Sounds good.
Full throttle.
Awesome, Door. Great stuff as usual. Emails? What do you say?
Oh, of course.
Let's do it. This is from Caleb. He says, hey, guys, just released a new service. Oh, I actually read this on another show. I'll release it here. I'll talk about it here, too. He said, Sony just released a new service called Crackle, Crackle. Free movies with ads, and it streams via Flash tons of good Sony movies, TV shows, TV show clips, all from your browser, phone, or PS3. Had it running on my Ubuntu 1010, my Android phone, and my girlfriend's PS3. Just thought you guys might want to look into it, and that's from Caleb Fultz. The man.
Dude, he is really on top of entertainment on the internet, it seems like.
Yeah.
I don't know how he stays on top of this so much.
The same way we're all amazed about how much you stay on top of things, Dor. You're a marvel. All right. Thank you, Caleb, for that email. I appreciate it. And for everything else you've been doing. And this is from Lotfi. You answered this one, Dor, but I'm going to read it. Is that cool?
Yeah, even at the bottom he says, don't read it.
Oh, off topic, don't read, Steve. Okay, I will not read it. Thank you for telling me that.
Now, in hindsight, I'm not sure if he means don't read this last part or don't read the whole thing.
I just unchecked it. I don't know.
Okay, the gist of it.
Okay, the gist.
The gist of it is, I'm really getting upset, and this is not coming from him. I'm really getting upset, and I'm really getting annoyed at every time I log in, and every time the screen goes dark and I touch the mouse, or every time I do this on the computer, it asks me for a password. How can I make it stop asking me for the password?
On Linux.
On Linux Mint, I believe the question was.
Okay.
And the answer is I ain't telling you.
That's your answer, Dor?
That's my answer, because it is very unsafe. It's a very poor practice. It's like telling someone how to drive a motorcycle without a helmet and wearing sandals. You don't want to encourage somebody to do that. You really don't. Granted, they can still do it on their own. That user can still go out on the internet and search the Google on the tubes of the information superhighway and find out how to do it on their own. I'm not telling them how to do it. It is not kosher. It is not safe. It is not cool. If you don't like entering passwords, if I've said it once, I've said it, I don't know, 5 times. If you don't like entering passwords, Linux is not for you. If you don't like being safe, saying it in the exact same way, if you don't like being safe, don't use Linux.
Take that, Lotfi. I know. I second that.
Well,
what Dor said.
Now, here's the real gimmick. It is not hard to, I don't want to say disable that, but have it not come up as much. It's not really hard. The screen dimming, it's right in the interface. You can find it. But like, there are distributions out there where you are intended to run as the administrator full time, which means when you go to install an application, you're kind of not getting prompted.
I see.
Those are for advanced users. They're not for beginner users, because those are people who already have a full understanding of the impact of what they're doing. In the Ubuntus and in the Mints and in the SUSEs and everything else, I just don't encourage people to disable passwords.
It's fair enough, Dor. Sounds good to me. Next one's from Justin. It says, first, I would like to thank you both for the informative shows. I look forward to them all the time. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Justin. The last show, Dor, you spoke about all the different types of roles or functions a server can have, which got me thinking about a problem I've been wanting to solve. I currently run Ubuntu 10.04 server as a host with an SME 7.5.1 at contribs.org. Guest. I don't know what that means. I liked this OS because I'm a super Linux noob, and it provided a semi-turnkey solution for an enterprise-level server and the ease of administration. The problem is that this does not support PHP 5 because it's being based off of CentOS. This prevents me from doing a lot of SEO and backing up stuff for my website, callthetwins.com. It's a work in progress. So I'm looking to create an Ubuntu server with just as many functions as my current server. For example, web server PPTP VPN server, email server, LDAP, DNS, proxy server, Samba server. I like to challenge myself. So if you have any good tutorials or tips, I would greatly appreciate it. Sincerely, Justin from callthetwins.com.
The one thing I'll say is, stick with what you know. Don't make things more difficult than you absolutely positively have to. With that said, there is a Ubuntu-based small business server. Let me see. I know I sent it to him in a follow-up email. Zentyal. Zentyal. Zentyal.
Yes.
This is Ubuntu-based small business Linux server. Now, even though the need might not be small business focused, through this one server, you can do a lot. You can do virtually everything he mentioned that he wanted to be able to do.
Great.
And to be honest, more. And it's based on Ubuntu. So if you're at all comfortable with installing applications via sudo apt-get, then all you got to do is SSH into the server, which if you're setting up this server, you're going to know what SSH is already. And you can very easily install anything you want to install on it via that command, including PHP 5. CentOS is a child, if you will, of Red Hat. Red Hat being a what's the word I'm thinking of? As a stiff business enterprise solution for that guy with a lot of starch in his shorts kind of thing. It's never going to be hip. It's never going to be really current.
Right.
So everything you can load is always going to be a touch out of date. It's just a smidge, just a scotch. So if you really need something new and hip installed like PHP 5, you need to do it on a fresher, hipper operating system, dare I say. And I believe this one can do everything that he needs to do.
He did send a follow-up one, too. I don't know if you got that. I'm going to read it, if you want me to. If you want me to read that?
Yeah.
He said he was running CentOS?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying that's a red-hatted stepchild?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm not a huge of Red Hat-based distributions in general.
Gotcha.
I'll admit that.
All right. Second email is still from Justin. He says, follow up. He says, thanks, Dor. Thanks for the great tip. I have been testing the last couple of days, and it seems like a pretty solid server. I recently ran across an article, though, on the Zentyal site saying that they are abandoning Ubuntu in favor of GNU/Herd. I don't know much about Herd. What do you think about the changes? Should I transition to Zentyal with this coming down the pipeline? My second question is in regards to my site, and then this will be the last email. When customers visit my remote support link, callthetwins.com/8008, on a Linux machine, a Java error shows up stating that the Java applet failed to initialize. I've found a few things on some forums stating to uninstall or install iced tea. That hasn't worked for me. Please help this super noob. Thanks. And that's, again, from Justin. Iced tea.
Yeah. I had never in my life heard of iced tea except for the beverage or the 80s hip-hop artist. That was totally new to me. I'm not going to lie. Okay. A couple of the tips I gave him is, first off, if you're accessing it from a Ubuntu-based distribution, okay, kind of like when I say if we're not sure there's an issue with hardware, boot to a Ubuntu CD, live CD kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you're in Ubuntu, go ahead and install Ubuntu-restricted-packages. Okay, that will install Java, Flash, WMV, WMA, MOV, all this support that you'll rarely need the whole thing kind of thing, and see if that gets to working. I believe he said he was still having issues. So to be honest, the next thing I would do, go to a Windows computer or a Mac computer and see if this thing can load. If you can, then you know it's something very specific with Java itself. If you're still having weird issues and it still wants something like Ice-T installed, I would suggest not using this product. If it requires something that obscure, I'll say.
Right. What about continuing to use Zentile even though they're abandoning Ubuntu?
Okay. Sorry, Steve.
No problemo, Dor. The Dor is using an example of the mute button, which is quite spectacular yet professional. And he's back?
I know, but it was delayed in Slacker usage of it.
No, it was beautiful. Couldn't have used it better myself.
Here's what herd is. What herd means is guaranteed 100%, without a doubt, capital F, capital R, capital E, capital E. Free. Nothing in it is closed sourced whatsoever, period, bar none, free. With that said, for instance, if you try to load a completely free operating system, the kernel is herd, and all this other stuff is completely open and free, YouTube won't work because that's Flash. Some Java stuff works, some Flash stuff will work, some of this other stuff will work. Like a DVD, you can't play. You can't play a DVD.
They purposely kept that stuff out, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Having a server that's herd, I feel much better about, to be honest.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of stuff on a server you do not want to be able to do.
Right.
You know, now if you do want to stream Flash, then you might not. I don't know if a herd kernel or herd-based operating system can do that, but for a large percentage of the things that normal people need to do, a herd server is perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. And to be honest, I'm not going to say safer because I think that's kind of riding the bandwagon.
Right.
I think it has a good possibility or a path of possibility of being safer because it's all open. You know what I mean? And anyone can look at the code and read and see what's going on.
Gotcha. I heard that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm full of crappy jokes today, guys. That's just my job in this show. All right, anything else on that one, Dor?
And I will admit, and I admitted to him, I forgot for like 4 days to access that website because I wanted to see if I could access it without any issues. And I forgot to do it for like 4 days. And I just accessed it on Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And on Chrome. I'm sorry. I can't even think right. On Chrome. And what happened was I got the typical Java pop-up asking me, do you want to allow access?
Right.
For it, which is good, which is what you want to see. And then the page just sat there with a slightly different color gray box in the browser I could see. So something is definitely not loading entirely correctly.
Just pour some iced tea on it, like you said.
Exactly. Sometimes with Java, I will tell you, you got to be patient. You got to go to the page, and then you still got to wait like 30 seconds.
That is true. I've experienced that too.
Yeah, so honestly, I can't tell you what's going on. The best example I can try to give of help is, he mentioned it in the email too, Turnkey, turnkeylinux.org. Download a LAMP server from there, load it in a VM, try to load this on there, and see what you get. If it works perfectly fine, then you know the issue is the package support on whatever you're using. If it is CentOS, or if you're using Zentile now and it still isn't working, then there's something in that package that is not letting it load correctly. You got to just keep hammering away at it. And Turnkey Linux is a great way to quickly diagnose what's going on.
Good suggestion. Again, Dor, appreciate all the answers to the emails. Thank you guys for sending the emails. If you want to send more, we are available at mail@podnutz.com or door-to-doorgeek@gmail.com, either one. And let's see here. If you want to send us voicemails, which I don't think we've gotten in a while, maybe, possibly we have, can't remember, call 707-6-PODNUT on a phone, and you'll go right to the voicemail. Dora, what do you want to say before we end off?
I really have a lot of fun doing this, and I want to encourage people. I said it in my very first episode of doing anything Podnutz related. Support those that support you. If you get enjoyment or you learn stuff off of Podnutz, support Podnutz at least by going to podnutz.com/Amazon or podnutz.com/HostGator. You know, just pay it forward kind of thing.
Dude, you're awesome. You always plug something that's not related to you. It's commendable. I appreciate that, man. And like he said, Podnutz loves the support. So, and I want to thank everybody for supporting us by watching and listening and streaming this show. And that's going to be it this week for Linux for the rest of us. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.